It was the same. Well, listening to your music, you know, I mean, I've been a fan of your music for your playing for since the first time, you know, for many years. Lounge Lizards was the first time I heard you play. And but it seems we have a lot of the same interests, you know, and we had like parallel, you know, we had the Cubanos, we had the Latin Playboys at the time, and it was just it was something was something was in the air or something.
Right, right.
So it was just. I'm glad that you called me, by the way.
Well, good.
And you know, it's been it's grown into something that's it'll be different every time it happens. I think, you know, because it's for one, it's different settings and then you know, different musicians and different amounts of musicians. So I don't know what I'm getting at, but it's a good thing to be a part of.
Well, that was one of the things that I started to notice, was that it seemed to me like there had been this kind of, I mean, one thing that we have in common is like we're both obsessed with some of the same guitar sounds.
Yeah.
And we started to talk about it, we started to notice that there seemed to be this kind of parallel East Coast, West Coast development. Like on the East Coast, there was this kind of development of salsa into boogaloo, like Willie Colon and Joe Bataan. And what's a little less known is that fed in to like early CBGBs and punk rock. In some, like one of the founding CB's bands was Mick DeVille and Willie DeVille, who was, I think, the only one of those bands who was actually from the Lower East Side, and he was clearly influenced by, like, the boogaloo stuff was R&B / salsa, and Mick DeVille and Willie DeVille were clearly influenced by that, and they brought that into, you know, they brought that into the CBGB's mix, and a lot of other people wound up, I mean, when influenced by that, I mean, when you hear like a bolero bass line, boom, dum, in a Tom Waits or a Bruce Springsteen tune, it didn't come from nowhere, you know. So, and I know that there was a whole set of parallel
at the same
history
time,
on the West Coast.
On the West Coast, like all the Joe Bataan and Rafi Pagan, the whole boogaloo thing was big on the East Side, you know, with all the Chicano kids. So we had, I mean, that's one thing we had in common. Is that, you know, a lot of basic things that, you know, growing up, and we learned that we had in common, and that's what that was one of the links. And he played with Joe Bataan for a while, so I'm kind of jealous.
I'll give you his number.
He had some good Joe Bataan stories. So I'm not. Yeah, anyway, that's your turn. No, but I mean, that's it.